Drohmann, a name which for more than 90 years has stood for quality in precision punching tools designed for innumerable applications. Every day, Drohmann ships these punching tools from its headquarters in Lorch to all corners of the globe. Owing to their special metal alloy and optimum material hardness, these hole punching knives enjoy an excellent reputation. They are known for their long service life and accuracy in punching. Drohmann punching knives are available in many shapes and sizes and for a wide variety of industries. But there is one thing that is true of all these punching tools: they must be kept as sharp as possible. Since even knives made of the best materials have to be resharpened from time to time, which requires experience and the adequate processing tools, we have developed the Drohmann hollow grinding machine and produced this video. It shows you all the phases of processing, such as surface and hollow grinding, in the proper sequence, first on label knife and then on envelope punching tools. Let's first look at how the Drohmann hollow grinding machine is equipped. The switch for the grinding spindle is beneath the shelf. The motor can be equipped with various grinding wheels and can be swingable 90 degrees on its bearings. The horizontal position is for surface grinding and the vertical position for hollow grinding. The crank above it lets you move the motor up and down in millimeter increments. A special magnetic plate holds the punch during surface grinding. Below this opening is an extraction device for sparks or particles. During surface grinding, the motor moves along these two axes. Here is the locking device. Here again is the height adjustment for the grinding spindle. Since good lighting is important for professional regrinding, the machine is equipped with a lamp which is movable in all directions. The electric power supply line for the grinding motor is perfectly isolated. We will work with 3 different grinding wheels, one for surface grinding, one for hollow grinding, and a thinner wheel for resharpening small corner radii. You need only an Allen wrench to mount the different grinding wheels. Here you see a special grinding wheel for corner radii being mounted professionally. And don't forget to put up the protective paneling, like this. And now we are able to start. This punching tool is damaged in several places along its cutting edge. We can see this better when the lamp is properly adjusted. The first step, surface grinding, brings the grinding spindle into a horizontal position. The punching tool is placed on a magnetic plate and the plate activated with an Allen wrench. Make sure that the punch lies close exactly to the limit stop on the magnetic plate. To secure punching tools made of aluminium, simply use a few metal blocks. Here is the limit stop on the magnetic plate. The punch is now secured. Now the grinding motor is lowered until it just barely makes contact with the cutting edge. We then move the grinding spindle slowly over the cutting edge, repeatedly checking whether damages are still visible. If so, the grinding spindle is lowered slightly and the process continued until the cutting edge has a uniform dull sheen all around it. However, the aim in every case is to cut off not more material than necessary. After surface grinding, we can detect no more damages. The work was successful. The punching tool must first be demagnetized after surface grinding. This is done with this special device, which we also supply. Once again, the accuracy of the surface is checked every time under the special lamp. Our surface grinding has now evened the cutting edge of the punch. Now we must make an inside chamfer of approximately 1/10 on each side of the cutting edge. The inside chamfer, a bevel of about 20 degrees, is made with a special file. In doing so, it is extremely important to keep the bevel uniform around the whole circumference, including the radii. Again, we check the results of our work under the lamp. We don't need the magnetic plate for the next step, hollow grinding, and thus we simply remove it. The grinding spindle is now brought from horizontal to vertical position and moved to the center of the shelf. Again, the grinding spindle is lowered to the best height for working. In spite of the extraction unit, you should always wear safety glasses during the hollow grinding process. Make sure that the punching knife is constantly in motion during hollow grinding. In this way, you will prevent the knife from annealing at a certain point and thus reducing the hardness of the material. The punching knife is constantly in motion and the results of grinding are repeatedly inspected. Processing the outer radii requires a great deal of sensitivity and experience. Here too it is important to stop and check often. The narrow grinding wheel already shown is used to process punches with small radii. This is how a properly sharp label punch looks, but we are not yet this far along with our own knife. Next comes the final resharpening process called finishing, which uses these special variously shaped whetstones bedded in a mixture of kerosene and oil. We start with the somewhat coarser grey whetstones, then use the white stones for finishing. Here too, it is important to keep the angle the same all around the knife. The outer sides are resharpened with the flat stones and the inside radii with the round whetstones. This gives the punch an optimum surface and the cutting edge its perfect sharpness. Check the accuracy of your work under the light during this process too. It's well worth it. And this is how our label die looks after being surface grinded, hollow grinded and sharpened with the oil stones. If the label knives have a slitting knife, this too must be refitted. The slitting knife is fitted and resharpened on the hollow grinding machine. The slitting knife must fit exactly, that is without a gap, where it is screwed onto the punch. The cutting edge of the slitting knife should be applied only a few tenths of a millimeter below the cutting edge of the knife. Once you have fitted the slitting knife, your punch is again ready to use. We will now turn to the professional way to resharpen envelope punching knives. This envelope knife is also damaged along its cutting edge and near the corners and radii. Again, we start with surface grinding. In contrast to the label punching knives, the large envelope punching knife itself is moved rather than the grinding spindle. We recommend that you wear protective gloves and safety glasses during this work. Again, a visual inspection under the lamp shows whether we must repeat the process or not. Here is an envelope punching knife that has been perfectly surface grinded. This workplace is equipped with all the tools you need to professionally sharpen envelope knives. First, we use the Drohmann E and this special daylight lamp. The specialist at work here clamps the punch down so that the cutting edge is on top and he can work with one arm inside the punch. The light is set so that he can use the reflection to follow and assess accurately the quality of the 20 degrees bevel on the inside face. He starts by resharpening the radii and then takes a larger file to the sides. Here you can see how you can use two fingers to ensure that the file is correctly slanted at roughly 20 degrees. The result? A perfect inside chamfer which guarantees precise punching results. In the good lighting, you can easily see that the work has been done uniformly. On large knives, it is advisable to make the inside chamfer somewhat wider, depending on the material being punched. Here too, we start with the radii and then resharpen the cutting edge. The next picture shows two inside chamfers of differing width. Here you can see the difference. After we have finished the inside chamfer, we can continue processing the corners. We now taper the material carefully with a triangular file until we no longer see the surface grinding in the corner radius. Here we can clearly see traces of the first resharpening process on the outer corners. Starting at the corners, we then sharpen the cutting edges with a flat file until we can just feel a burr on the inside. Then we slightly taper the outside of the punch below the cutting edge with the aid of an abrasive paper. Here we clearly see the difference between the finished part of the knife in the foreground and the part still dull from surface grinding behind it. Drohmann has modified a special handbelt sander for optimizing the outer surfaces of punching knives. This device uses a range of sanding belts to trap the material further while simultaneously smoothing the surface of the knife still rough from filing. The spring mechanism keeps the sanding belt stretched perfectly. At this point, a spark extraction unit can be connected to the handbelt sander. The sanding belt is guided over graphite, thus minimizing the heat generated by the contact pressure. It's this easy to insert or change the sanding belt. All done and all ready. Never hold the handbelt sander at such a steep angle. This could ruin your filing work on the cutting edge. We only use the handbelt sander to optimize the outer surfaces of the knife below the cutting edge. As you see, our specialist keeps the handbelt sander constantly in motion and never stays long in one place. Thus, he prevents the knife from partially annealing, which can reduce the hardness of the material. The handbelt sander lets us achieve a smooth transition in the material from the file's cutting edge to the lower part of the die. Depending on the condition of the outside, we can further process and smooth the punch with a finer sanding belt. As with the label punching knives, now we take our grey and white oilstones to hand for precision work on the cutting edge. Thereafter, the knife is thoroughly sharp and again ready for use. Of course, we also must resharpen the slitting knife and fit it to the altered outer contour of the punch, just as we did with the envelope punch. Here, the slitting knife must have a little breastling space. Up here, in contrast, the slitting knife should lie exactly to the knife. The fitting operation is quickly done with the hollow grinding machine, and after one last critical inspection, the slitting knife can be remounted. If you do not intend to use your punching knife immediately after sharpening, we recommend greasing it before you store it away. Before using it again, please clean the knife in order to avoid a breakout. You have now seen all the processing steps which enable the Drohmann hollow grinding machine and other tools to resharp your envelope or your label punching knife perfectly and increase its service life. We hope you will be able to make use of the know-how summarized in this video and wish you continued first-class punching results and a smooth flow of production. You can order the Drohmann hollow grinding machine as well as other processing tools shown in this video from us directly. Simply tell us your requirements. We will then tell you which components will be the best in your specific case. And now, we thank you for your attention. Drohmann. Punching is our line of work.